I bet you when you think of symbiotes, you think of Carnage or Venom. I mean, I can't blame you. They some of the coldest symbiotes. But what if I told you there's more? Like the symbiote entity known as Scream. See, Venom and Carnage aren't the only symbiotes out there. She's got a quite unique look compared to the other symbiotes, I will admit. And she made her big appearance in the new Spider-Man 2, the video game. Of course, Mary Jane being the host. Not your standard host like in comics, though. You guys know how symbiotes are. They're like gooey alien type entity thingies that they need a host. Or they would just look like this for the most part. Scream is no exception to this. Even though she might look devastatingly scary like this, there's something or somebody underneath all this. Like here, for example, you can kind of see what's under. Like it's actually a human underneath. Scream, just like the other symbiotes, they kind of all have similarities to each other. Matter of fact, the very sense of identity when it comes to these symbiotes, this should be the same for Scream. Just like how Eddie and the symbiote were together, they're known as Venom. They need to be paired. This same concept, one could say this goes for Scream too. It's like common symbiote stuff. And this is a view of Scream's host without like the symbiote, Donna Diego. Other than Donna, the Scream symbiote has bonded with this being known as Patricia. I will be basically going over both of these in this video. The different hosts. It's still Scream at the end of the day. This being Andy, for example, that was getting choked out by Carnage, of course. She was a host when the symbiote went to her here. Yeah, she became the Scream symbiote. See, this Scream host was basically selected to be a Hell Lord type character. That's why you see that demonic mark on her head. She has energy projection without necessarily being bonded to a symbiote. But so that lets you know when she does bond with a symbiote. Like this, for example, you can see that she can do energy projection on top of the fact that she's the new Scream symbiote. So Scream goes through some evolutions. Like this is an example of like her symbiote not necessarily being out right here in this particular occasion, and she can still blast with hellfire basically. So yeah, that's why Scream with this host is so crazy. She can use something that's a weakness to symbiotes and the fact that she's a symbiote that comes in handy. We see her use heat, fire, and type of stuff, energy projection, one can say, against these entities, symbiotes. I mean, there was even a point where she kind of got a piece of Carnage enveloped in Scream to where Andy looked like this, like Scream and Carnage fusion type BS. Like this kind of is scary to think about. Making blazing weapons out of her hands, bulletproof, obviously, all that craziness. In this state, she was killing random people and just being like a straight savage. Yeah, imagine having issues with Scream and Carnage in you and stuff as a host. Like in this absolute Carnage event known as Scream, they pretty much explained the lore, everything you need to know about her. Years ago, the Life Foundation, an organization that time for a time focused its efforts on destroying Spider-Man, captured the Venom symbiote and forced it to spawn 5 offspring. Scream is one of them, along with Lasher, Riot, Agony, blah, blah, blah. Patricia is that's the next host for Scream, like I already mentioned. She was a former host of another symbiote, Mania symbiote, has bonded with the Scream symbiote. That's how all that happened. You guys know Noel, the god of the symbiotes. In a more recent story, Scream had died like back in the day, of course, but she technically got resurrected and she was still bonded to the corpse of somebody that's already dead. Even though the host for the symbiote has died, the symbiote was bonded to a corpse, literally. And that's when, Scream decided to leave this body. Of course, she wanted a fresh body and not the old corpse body. And that's how she bonded with Patricia. But at the end of the day, she still Scream. Let's still analyze how strong she is, no matter which host, right? Let's get into it. See, here's the thing about Scream. She was used to doing her own thing, being bonded with one person, having a friend, but thanks to Noel, it was like a hive mind type thing to where it was a lot louder than what she was expecting. It was impossible to ignore or resist. It was a lot more different minds than usual because of Noel and such. Look at that spooky logo, That's the difference. So, Scream is a symbiote type character, so she's decently versatile and is a threat to spider tears, of course. Like, you already know she can do the symbiote stuff like literally shapeshifting. Like, they pretended to be guards here, but they really were a group of symbiotes. Like, she was one of the people that shapeshifted, so it shows they have a lot of similarities. It makes her hard to fight because she can literally stretch her arms like tendrils, like stretching here, for example. When it comes to Spider-Man's web, we've actually literally seen her absorb his web, like literally eat it and spin it out like a fur ball. Shape-shifting to the point one can say she can turn invisible, like she camouflages herself here, for example, like to where she's not really visible. She can change her biomass to where she can give herself wings, basically, extra limbs, looking spiderish or insectish looking. Literally see her change form completely, like adapt depending on the situation, growing extra limbs, shape-shifting, symbiote type stuff. She's different than other symbiotes because she likes to use her hair like tendrils to attack you with her hair, you know? Like we see in this occasion, we literally see her use her hair as a shield to block Spider-Man's spider web, so it lets you know she likes using her hair more than other symbiotes. Yeah, you see in newer type comic art, we see her using her hair against other symbiote-esque type beings. Like you literally see occasions like this of her using her hair to grab beings, like she literally likes using her hair. She can keep her distance by stabbing you with her hair, like she can use her hair like blades. This comes in handy on occasions like this where she can attack a whole bunch of Carnage minions. You see the standard wrapping you up in all her hair tendril type stuff. That's like her theme. She even does in newer S-type comics. You got occasions like this. The host is Andy in this particular occasion. She still uses her hair. Even if she's a different host, she still does the classic using her hair in combat, blades to stab entities and such. When it comes to the symbiote and the host, the symbiote will heal you up. All you got to do is rest. Like in this particular occasion, it confirms it. It has a healing factor, knits the wounds together. Two beings united as one. I'm going to be going over Scream having multiple or different hosts in this video. Like when she was bonded to this host, for example, like you literally see her do some breathing underwater type stuff. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah, let's talk about her strength. Yeah, it's something you already know she has. She has incredible super strength because she's a top tier symbiote type character. In this occasion with Spider-Man, of course, she can actually uproot and sling trees. Like you see her being trapped by all of this bull crap. We see her literally rip out with her raw strength. We see her move stuff with her hair this big as a weapon to throw it at this bigger entity. She had help in this occasion, but she was helpful in restraining Spider-Man's arm in this particular occasion with her tendrils, just to show the brute strength that she got. Even if you want to assume she's not necessarily as strong as Spider-Man, even if she's 50% the strength of Spider-Man, that's still impressive because we know Spider-Man is a character that has the raw strength to lift 50 or 60 plus ton tanks, planes that can weigh up to 40 or even 50 tons. Heck, they even say the weight here in this particular panel, and buses. And this is the type of character like these symbiotes always have to fight, have the strength similar to, you know, this type of stuff they got to compete against. I think a fair assumption, even though we haven't seen her do it, I think a fair assumption would be to say she can at least lift like similar stuff to what Spider-Man can lift up, buses, tanks. That makes sense, right? With her super strength. Spider-Man said, 5 enemies with the power of Venom and Carnage, you know, so it lets you know the symbiotes are no joke. And she was one of them when he was talking about this. With all this kind of super strength, what the heck do you think her punches or slashes or just strikes in general feel like? I mean, she has a lot of cutting power, just striking power in general. Like she can slash into airplane doors. She can punch really hard because we see it when she punches other symbiotes and they go flying after her punch. Like you see her getting dogpiled by a whole bunch of undead bull craps like this, for example. We see her retaliate by slicing them up. Somebody I know you got respect for is Venom himself. We've seen her punch. Narration even says it appears that Venom has met his match in the female who bore more than a passing resemblance to him. I mean, we literally seen her get hit by Venom himself. You show that her body's resilient and she can retaliate back at him. You know, you get the idea. I mean, when you compare to other minion symbiotes, like they're in this Null invasion, we see these other symbiotes get treated like joke compared to her powers. So she's like a higher end symbiote when it comes to the other ones in comparison. That can kind of give you some writer intent and where the writers want her to be when it comes to the power level, when it comes to Scream. Even top tier symbiotes like Venom are compared to her. Not just Venom, but even Carnage. We've seen her strike and implied to be able to affect pretty bad. Blocking attacks from Carnage to show her strength and durability and her resilience. I mean, we've literally seen her do stuff like this to the side of a building, mess up the debris of the building, things like that. At this point, doing this to a brick wall is just obvious at this point. This is what super soldier tiers can do. She's a symbiote tier. Symbiote tiers can hit harder than super soldiers. You get the idea. This is just a joke. Bare minimum. Of course, you can punch through brick walls, slice through them. You get the idea. Her kick, strikes, or slashes would probably feel like a tank landing on your face if we're being honest. Big entities like this, we've seen her get hit from and still keep on moving afterwards. In this case, you can kind of see her use her brain against this huge entity, even though she has the size advantage, using this crane to kind of, one could say, hang this big entity like such. No head for you. Gotten a little scruffle with Sandman in newer S-type comics. Being a symbiote-type character, there's no surprise that she has incredible fighting speed. To be able to keep up with Spider-Tier characters and other symbiotes, this makes sense with the lore and narrative writer intent, because we've actually seen her get complimented on her speed by Spider-Man himself Somebody we know is real fast because we've seen Spider-Man battle beings that literally have stated on panel that they have the speed of light on their side, and Spider-Man's spider senses and everything put together can help avoid beings like this, and yet he's still called Scream fast. Spider-Man, the same being that can literally react and catch bullets in his hands. Spider-Man, the same being that can react in 1/1,000,000th of a second, a microsecond. That's 1/1,000,000th of a second. Yet when it comes to Scream speed, Spider-Man still called her fast. We've actually seen Spider-Man dodge actual real lightning. The comic even implied he had to be fast to do this. Even Storm's lightning he can react to. Her getting her speed complimented means she has to be somewhere in this fighting speed range. In the range, at least saying her hits probably will be coming at you at speeds lightning fast or some crap, like something like that when it comes to her fighting speed. This is partly thanks to energy projection and her just being way stronger than your average symbiote, because when they tried to eat her, that just didn't go well for them. But at the end of the day, the symbiote known as Scream does end up getting killed off, the host still being alive, but the Scream symbiote's gone. It was even to the point where the symbiote was stated to be damaged beyond repair. But then the remains of Scream was spliced with antivenom, so Scream and antivenom was put together to where Scream basically got a new name known as Silence, a brand new symbiote. So it's the opposite of Scream, it's called Silence. It's like a reinvention of her. No more screams, no more pain. Do you hear that? All is quiet, silence. But everybody, that's just about going to do it. You got to respect Scream. She technically, I guess, became another new symbiote because Scream is technically gone now and she's silent. Should have similar abilities still with some new properties like antivenom. You know, you get the 9 yards. But before I get going, everybody, a pretty cool symbiote in my opinion. But I got to say quick thanks to the donators real quick. It helps out a lot. Respect Scream. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.